Hello, so this is just a very quick preview of the 1.2 development version. First thing to notice is that you don't now get a critical error on when the install directory exists, and instead it'll just sort of prompt you to remove it rather than throwing an error which is harder to get out of. Next thing is the locations now have some very basic building support. So if I hover on all here, you can see it automatically shows all the possible locations. If I click on that, it will give me everything down here. If I click on a single one, of course it still does the same filtering. There we are. But also now if you hover over building 1, in this case, I'll get all the buildings which are in building 1, and likewise building 2 here. And I can click on building 1 as well to get everything in building 1, and likewise building 2. So it's just a quicker way of filtering, and hopefully helpful to those of you who've actually got a lot of rooms to deal with. The other major change is the introduction of custom templating and custom fields. So under custom fields here, what I can do is I can create a new custom field, and I can attach it to, at the moment, either event or location. But what I do is I'm going to add a location field here, and we're going to call it capacity, and it's going to be a text field, and we need to give it a description. And if it was a select or radio or checkbox, we would need to then add some JSON options data, so just key value pairs basically. And I'm going to make this one a required field. I'll create a custom field, and by default these get output in a slightly ugly fashion. So if I go to locations, I need to restart the application as well because it's all cached in scope. So if I go into here, you'll see I've got my capacity field and it's a required field, so that's the JavaScript has kicked in there. But if I wanted to actually not only have custom data like this, but actually then change the way this format looks, I can go into custom fields and I can go to location and create a form template. And this is Grid Manager JS, which is another one of my open source projects. So it's nice to bring all these things together. So I can create columns and then use the shortcode system to insert the fields that I know I need. So this is a form template, so I need to use the inputs, which are on the left here, and the outputs on the right. So I'm going to do name here, and then I'm going to do class, and then we'll have color here, and then we can add something like this to a row, and we can put the description in, put the building name in, and then we could actually just resize these fields like this, and then add another column, and then pop in our capacity field. So you can see I've got an ID number for the field here, so that corresponds to a custom field, and then when it's non-numeric it tries to grab one of the system fields. So if I do create template and then again reload, and now if I go to my locations and I click edit, I've got my nice new layout, and that's all still, you know, working in terms of validation, which is quite nice. So the other thing I can then do is actually change the output. So here's my locations list, and by default it's a bit dull really. So I could now go into my custom fields and I could create a location output template. I'm going to do a pretty similar thing, but let's just do something like this. Speed. So I'm going to use the right hand column outputs now. So there's my capacity field, name, class, and description, and we'll put the building in. We don't need to put the colour in. Okay, so reload that, and now if we go back to our location output, you'll see those are my basic values just output there. Because the way the template manager works is you can actually tie in CK editor to it and everything else. I've left that out for now, but you know, there's nothing stopping you putting whatever you want content-wise here, images and all sorts of stuff once you hook in CK Editor, but it's just now to keep it simple. Anyway, hope that gives you some ideas.